Come on in, please. Matt Shay. He is the chair of the Retail Industry Federation. I think I've got the name right. National Retail Federation. I'm very sorry, Matt. I do apologize. Okay.
Thank you.
Now,
Nice to it.
retailers, I'm talking about a border tax here because I think that's the subtext at the meeting with manufacturers. And it was certainly on the cards when the retailers met President Trump about a week or 2 weeks ago. Right. Retailers hate the border tax. Manufacturers want the border tax. Who's going to win?
Well, I think lots of us should hate the border tax because if you're a consumer or you're a taxpayer, you're going to pay more for everything you buy. So we should all hate it, and we should all recognize that it's not the only way to solve the tax reform problem. There are many other roads we could go down. This is one we don't agree with. And frankly, if you look at the coalition we've put together, more than 200 companies, industry groups, organizations, and the coalition that they've put together on the other side, the overwhelming number of organizations coming out to talk about this issue are on the other side, opposing it, because it's bad for consumers, it's bad for taxpayers, and it's going to increase prices for everything that gets imported into this country, whether you're talking about the things we sell, whether you're talking about petroleum, automobiles, electronics, drugs. I mean, virtually everything you buy is going to cost more.
Well, you've assembled a very powerful lobbying coalition. You've got partners there who can really lobby hard in Congress, and I take it that's what you're doing. So my question is, do you think that you've got the political clout, the lobbying clout, to stop the border tax?
Well, I think, you know, Stuart, you referenced a minute ago the visit that a number of retail industry CEOs had with the president last week and with other members of the leadership, as well as on Capitol Hill. I think this is a process that, you know, we've got a lot in common with the folks that are up there today. We all want tax reform. It's good for the economy. It's good for consumers. It's good for business. It's going to drive investment. We have a difference of opinion on how we get there. I think ultimately we're all going to have to stay together on this, be part of the conversation, work together with the leadership, the Speaker, Chairman Rady, and with the opposite numbers in the Senate.
I don't mean to be pejorative, Matt, but you're avoiding the question. My question was, you're a powerful group. Have you got the clout to beat it?
I think what we've got the opportunity to do is have a very direct conversation and continue to talk about why we think this is the wrong approach.
If it's any help towards you giving me an answer, I'm hearing whispers that that border tax is not going to make it, that that's what's going to be dropped. Now will you answer the question? Have you got the clout to beat it?
Well, listen, I think we're talking about every consumer in this country. We're talking about 42 million jobs in retail. We're talking about the millions and millions of consumers that shop every day. I was with a retail company CEO this week. 30 million families visit his stores every week. I was with someone last Friday. 40 million visit his stores every week. I think the collective voice that's being communicated here is one that is recognized as being very credible, very influential, and really very informed about how this is going to affect them. And I think as long as we focus on what's good for consumers, what's good for the economy, we can find a path forward. This particular proposal is not the best way forward. And we hope that as we go through this discussion with the leadership in the House and Senate and the administration, the President, Secretary Mnuchin, we'll find a path that works for all of us.
I am told that some retailers, if there was this border tax, 20% on imports, if that happened, it would wipe out the profits of some of the retailers who were in that room with the President. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate. And I think for many of the publicly traded companies, it's a pretty straightforward exercise. You can get their P&L. These are all public documents. You can look at what this would do. If they no longer can deduct the imports that they put into their business, they buy something for $85, they have $10 of other costs, they sell it for $100, they've got a $5 profit now. If you don't get the deductibility for the cost of goods sold, you're going to pay 10 times more in taxes, and you're going to wipe out all of your profits, and there go all those jobs.
But I also hear that retailers do pay a very high rate of tax, corporate tax. Very high rate indeed. I mean, you guys are often paying above 30%. Well, President Trump proposes to get rid of much of that tax burden. Doesn't that balance out? You pay more for imports, but you pay less profits tax?
Well, you pay less profits tax, but you're paying for your own tax reform in the form of much higher costs of goods sold. And so if you end up with no profit at all and you end up paying much higher taxes than your current profitability, then you end up not making a very good deal. So I think the way this works out now, and again, a number of these CEOs took the time to really walk the president and his team and members of Congress through this line by line and said, here's what our business looks like, here's how we operate. If this gets imposed, here's the result, and you can do the math, and the math is not very pretty. So I think that's the conversation that has to keep happening, because this is, as the President said last month, This is complicated. It's confusing. Border adjustment is something that no other country does. No one border adjusts a corporate income tax. There are value-added taxes. I know how you feel about a VAT. Those countries border adjust VATs, but nobody border adjusts a corporate income tax. So it's confusing. We're conflating a number of different issues here. We really need to stop, slow down, get everyone in the room and have a real serious conversation about the best way forward.
By the way, I do remember the VAT, the value-added tax. You're laughing because you know the story. I mean, it was introduced in Britain in the 1970s, and it was assumed that, okay, you pay this value-added tax on the stuff that you consume, and that'll let us get rid of income taxes. That really did not happen. Dream on, sports fans. Matt Shay, thank you very much for joining us, sir. Much obliged.
My pleasure, Stuart. Thank you.
Okay.